Welcome back to the field. It's July 13th. We're going to talk a little bit about what we saw last week when our scouting trips in Yuma County, Dundee County, and kind of the surrounding counties around here. We started seeing Western Bean egg masses. So moths are obviously flying a little bit earlier than we have seen them in the last couple years, especially where we've got 10 days to 2 weeks before we actually see a lot of tassels in fields. So some things to keep in mind when you're out there scouting for Western bean. Typically, we like to count at least 100 plants. We'll usually stop in 5 different places to get that 100 plants. Basically, inspect the upper 2 to 3 leaves. For egg masses, make sure you look in the whorl down in the collars to make sure that those moths didn't try to trick you and lay moths deep in the collars. So obviously, just count the number of egg masses in those 100 plants, divide by 100 to get your percent infestation. Well, currently we're using 6% as our threshold for treatment or action. One thing you do need to keep in mind, though, is go back and review those as planted maps to make sure you know what traits you have in the field. So if you've got a field with Tricepta, you don't need to control Western bean. Those traits should take care of it. So make sure you're familiar with your hybrids. Every company has their own unique name based on hybrids. So make sure you know what those are and where you have them planted. The other thing that we need to think about, so if we do have a field this week where we get to that 6% threshold, we got to think about timing and what product we're going to use. Bifenthrin is probably the most common that we've used a lot over the years. It's the cheapest and it is still effective, but timing is critical with that product because there's no residual with it. So when we go out with a bifenthrin product, we're going to either we need to time it around tasseling, right, or shortly after. We don't want to go out now when the moths are still flying, still laying eggs, because we're going to miss those. So, and then they're going to get into the ear tips come post-pollination. So with that product, we want to wait till tasseling or shortly after tasseling to apply. If you go out with a residual type product, Stewart, for example, that has residual, depending on rates, can be as much as up to 14 days. So with that type of product, I would feel comfortable going out here this week or early next week, irregardless of where you are at on tasseling, to apply that product. So keep those things into consideration when you're thinking about timing and products. The other thing I'll mention is just water use. Obviously, this next 7 days looks hot. A lot of south breezes, which increases our ET. Right now, most of our fields are in that V14 to VT growth stage. So we're probably going to be using close to 3/10 of an inch of moisture every day, especially today, where you got a 10-15 mile an hour south wind and it's 90s, mid 90s. These plants are going to be needing 3/10 of the moisture today. So keep that in mind as you're checking your fields this week, and we'll see you back next week.